Man develops incredible bond with crow. No expectations. Stuart had never seen anything like this before. When he placed the treat in the tree, he did it because he cared, not because he wanted anything in return. He loved taking care of birds. It made him feel at peace and it made him happy. Little did he know that the crow had other ideas. It decided to leave him an unexpected gift. But this was the first of many surprises. He found them fascinating. Stuart Dahlquist had been a bird enthusiast for as long as he could remember. At 56 years old, he didn't go bird watching or have heavy gear, but he found birds fascinating. Crows especially reminded him of why he loved birds so much. They were a joy to be around, they calmed him. Crows had always been his favorite. He thought he knew everything about them, but soon he would learn a lot more. Pet crow. To him, it felt like birds were his companions. At one stage in his life, he even had a pet crow named the Judge. He named him after Cormac McCarthy's character in Blood Meridian. It was one of Stuart's all-time favorite shows on television. He had the Judge for a decade, and during that time, he remained a wonderful pet that overwhelmed Stuart with joy and laughter. Intelligent creatures. Did you know? It has been discovered that these majestic and menacing-looking birds can hold grudges against people who have wronged them. They are extremely intelligent and calculated in their revenge. They will go out of their way to get their payback and to avenge themselves. But they also have a giving and kind side. Stuart was one of the lucky few that got to experience this side of them. His experience. Since Stuart was a little boy, he knew that crows were magnificent creatures. Birds of all shapes and sizes had been a fundamental part of Stuart's life. Speaking about his experience, he said, "I love watching them, listening to their calls, identifying them, and helping them if they need help." He added that he was the true birder because he didn't have high-powered binoculars and go bird watching, but birds still played an important role in his life. He still remembers. But there is one specific rescue that Stuart still thinks about from time to time. He found the crow while it was still young, and it became relatively tame. They hired a wild animal trainer, and soon, the crow's intelligence landed him a few roles in movies. Stuart rescued him because he was concerned, not because he wanted recognition or payment for his troubles. His pet. Stuart lost the Judge when some wild raccoons managed to attack it one evening. If it hadn't been for that, the Judge would still have been with Stuart to this day. When he still had the Judge, he also had a few rescue crows. He would nurse them back to health before releasing back into the wild. One rule: the crows Stuart rescued had not been snatched from their parents. Stuart said, "The birds came to us when they were injured or had fallen from their nest and could not be returned and had been abandoned." Stuart had one rule, and that was to never take a chick from its nest. Baby birds will often fall from their nests, and occasionally, they will then be abandoned by their parents. They fell. One morning, Stuart went for a walk through his yard when he noticed that something was wrong. 2 chicks had fallen from their nest and were laying on his grass. Their parents had no way of getting them back into the nest. They could almost fly, but they were running around on his grass while their parents squawked at them. Stuart could tell that the parents were distressed as they watched their babies try to fly back to them. Helping hand. Remembering the incident, Stuart said, "I struggled, but eventually I managed to catch the 2 chicks and safely returned them into their nest while placing some food and water underneath the tree in case they fell again." Their parents were noticeably agitated by what had happened, but quickly assisted them when they were back in the nest. His adopted family. Stuart and this family of crows have been in each other's lives for nearly 4 years now, and he has been nursing and feeding them since. They nest in a large Douglas fir tree in our front yard, and we could hear the babies when the parents would feed them, he said. He was doing what felt genuine to him, and due to this, the birds decided to return the favor by doing something unique for him. Gratitude. Dahlquist kept leaving snacks at the fir tree base without expecting anything in return. However, the crows decided to show their gratitude with a bit of a gift. "The first gift was a bit confusing," said Dahlquist, "because it was sitting right in the middle of the area where I tossed their food. So at first, he did not pay it any attention. He assumed it was dirt or something that had made its way from outside. But soon he would find out that was the first of many special gifts." Dahlquist recalls how he noticed that it could be a gift because he is sensitive about trash going where it belongs. He likes making sure that rubbish is adequately sorted and away from animals. He says the pull tab being threaded onto the sprig of fir was not a normal thing to see, and so he decided to hang onto it until he could for certain make sense of what it is supposed to be. Continued surprises. The next day, Dahlquist was shocked to find another twig with a soda tab in the same spot. This is when it dawned on us that the crows were making and leaving them. He says he had rehabilitated and released several injured crows in the past but had never received a thank you so explicitly back. It took him a couple of days to wrap his head around just how amazing this was. Bonded for life. Dahlquist says he realized that not only were the crows leaving gifts, but they had created something beyond. In fact, they were crafting. Since the exchange of gifts, Dahlquist's relationship with his crow neighbors has only gotten stronger. He says they even follow him when he walks, landing on the wires along the way. The adult male is very amiable and will sometimes fly within a few feet, swooping by to say, "Here I am." However, although this story is incredibly wholesome, relationships with crows do come with drawbacks. Children and animals. It's difficult to predict just how young children will react to animals. Some children are frightened, some are a little too enthusiastic, and others will form genuine and inexplicable friendships with them. 8-year-old Gabby Man is one such child. She formed an incredible relationship with the crows that lived in her garden, but nobody expected the Man family to be sued for it later. A strange relationship. Gabby's strange relationship with the crows in her yard began when she was just 4 years old. She was sitting in the garden eating chicken nuggets when one of the morsels rolled off her lap. Gabby's mom was surprised to see an opportunistic crow grab the nugget and share it with the rest of the flock. Now that the crows knew little Gabby was a source of food, they wouldn't leave her alone. Years go by. As the years went by, Gabby and her brother continued to share their packed lunches with the crows that hung around the bus stop, just outside their home. By 2013, Gabby and her brother had gotten into the habit of making a morning routine out of feeding the crows. They would feed them peanuts, give them dog food, and gave them fresh water. Their mom thought the routine was enduring, but she had no idea what was to. The crows gather. Their mom, Lisa, said she hadn't minded that her children were sharing their lunch with crows, but the routine Gabby and her brother had formed came with a problem. Because the children were feeding the crows every morning, it was long before the food attracted more crows. Eventually, the telephone line above the bus stop was laden with them, all squawking and clambering to get a morsel. Then something. Rewards. Before long, Gabby and her brother started to notice something strange. The crows were obviously grateful for the food they were given, so they started to express their gratitude in the most unusual way. The crows started to bring little treasures to Gabby. She noticed that they started carrying small, shiny objects in their beaks. Gifts. The crows routinely cleared the feeders of dog food and peanuts and began leaving shiny trinkets in return. An earring, a polished rock, a hinge, beads, buttons, Lego pieces, anything that was shiny and small enough to fit in their beaks. Soon, there were so many gifts that Gabby began to keep them in a bead storage case. She even had a favorite treasure. One time, the crows brought a tiny piece of metal, engraved with the word best. This gift became Gabby's favorite. "It's showing how much they love me," she told BBC in an interview. "I don't know if they still have the part that says friend," she said, laughing at the thought of a crow wearing the other half of the pendant. John Marsloff, a professor of wildlife science at the University of Washington, weighed in on the crow's behavior. A special relationship. Marsloff specializes in bird behavior, particularly that of ravens and crows. If you want to form a bond with a crow, be consistent in rewarding them, he advises. Marsloff and his colleague Mark Mild actually did a study on the relationships between crows and the people who feed them. What they found was astonishing. They understand reciprocity. Marsloff and Miller were astonished to find that people and crows can form strong, personal bonds. "There's definitely a two-way communication going on there," Marsloff says. "They understand each other's signals. I can't say they will always give presents," Marsloff admits, "but I have seen an awful lot of things crows have brought people." Gabby's mom was so surprised by the crows' behavior that she decided to document it for herself. Charting their behavior. Lisa decided to track and chart the behavior of the crows her daughter fed by photographing them and studying their habits. But one day, she found her efforts hampered when she lost the lens cap for her camera in a nearby alley. Then, the crows did something even more astonishing than just bringing more shiny gifts. Helping her out. Lisa was flabbergasted when she found the lens cap in the bird bath in her yard. In disbelief, she checked the bird cam she had set up in the garden and saw something that made her head spin. The footage revealed that the crows had indeed returned the lens cap. But not only did they bring it back, the footage showed one of the crows rinsing it off in the bird bath. However, not everyone is happy with the situation. Angry neighbors. Lisa's neighbors on both sides jointly filed a lawsuit against her, and they were seeking $200,000 in damages. Additionally, they were seeking compensation for emotional distress and loss of enjoyment of property. The neighbors claimed that the Mann family's feeding practices attracted as many as 100 crows at a time, along with the rats that came after to look for leftover morsels in the feeding tray. Could they possibly win the lawsuit? Large numbers of birds swarmed the feeding operation daily, leaving behind dirt, feathers, peanut particles and shells, feces and urine on the surrounding properties. The neighbors asserted, "No one wants to be trapped living inside an Alfred Hitchcock horror movie," attorney Anna Johnson said in a Seattle PI article. This is a residential neighborhood that was not designed to host a large-scale wildlife feeding operation. The outcome? The ridiculous lawsuit went to court and the Mann family had no choice but to settle for an undisclosed amount of cash. Gabby was now also restricted to providing no more than 4 ounces to the crows per day for 8 years. Gabby's story did make international news, though, and it highlighted the surprising intelligence of these birds, amazing creatures. As Marslov points out, crows may not always give humans desirable gifts. Sometimes, they will bring trinkets that they think another crow would like a rotting crab claw or dead baby bird. Gabby was the recipient of one such Ike gifts, which her mom promptly threw out. One thing's for sure, though, crows are amazing because they are the only animals to give gifts to humans.